The silence of the Paradise Island is shattered by a horrific scream. Two men, strapped to gaming tables, lose consciousness after having their tongues cut out. The host, a sweet blonde in a red dress, approaches a participant and announces a new round. The wounded man cannot respond, but his words no longer matter. The players' relatives are brought into the arena. The host declares this round will be played for their lives. When the players press their buttons, the blonde announces the result. The relatives will be executed. A few weeks earlier, a comfortable bus drives a group of tourists to a villa. Jude has won an online game, securing a trip to a paradise island for 6 people. He invited his best friend Andy, along with Andy's wife Kate and father, his new girlfriend Heather, and his younger brother Henry. Andy and Kate are on the brink of divorce following Andy's affair. Kate barely restrains herself from a scene as the vacation fails to smooth their strained relationship. After checking into the villa, the travelers receive an invitation from the administration, but Heather is interested in something else. The blonde waits for her boyfriend to finally get rich and shower her with expensive gifts. Kate and Andy continue to argue, but Kate refuses sedatives, wanting to handle the stress on her own. She asks Andy for help so she can trust him again. In the morning, the women go to the pool. Heather tries to discuss the argument she overheard with Kate. Meanwhile, Andy thanks Jude for the vacation, but is surprised he brought Henry. Jude admits Henry bailed him out of another gambling debt. Leaving the women to the sun, the men meet the villa administration. A representative joins them, thanking Jude for his participation and offering a chance to raise the stakes. By playing a few offline rounds, they could win $20 million. The blonde explains it is simple, and they can start with a trial round to decide whether to proceed. Unlike Jude, Andy is skeptical, convinced the generous offer has a catch, especially since players are strapped to the table and cannot back out. Clouded by the prospect of wealth, Jude persuades Andy to agree. By the next day, Andy's doubts return as hotel staff behave strangely, even taking a glass directly from Jude's hand. Regardless, the men arrive at the designated location. The host announces the start of the trial round. The prize is $10,000, and the rules seem far too simple. In front of the players are 2 buttons, red and blue. If both press red, the money is split. If both press blue, no one wins, and both owe the prize amount to the company. However, if one presses red and the other blue, the blue presser takes everything, while the other owes to the company. It seems simple, just press red, but a quarrel erupts. Andy suspects Jude will choose blue to take the entire prize. They spend their discussion time arguing, but eventually apologize and both press red. The host credits their accounts and offers to continue. Andy refuses, realizing the danger, but Jude acts foolishly, persuading his friend to have fun and not take it seriously. Despite a sense of impending doom, Andy gives in and they return to the table. This time, their left hands are cuffed. The host informs them there is no turning back. She announces a new round with physical consequences. If both press red, they each get $50,000 and lose a finger. If only one presses red, they owe $100,000 and lose a finger, while the opponent remains unharmed. If both press blue, they both owe $100,000 and lose their entire hand. Jude continues to laugh, annoying Andy, who realizes they are in a mess. Jude remains unfazed, certain it is just a silly joke by the host. The men agree to press the red buttons, but Jude deceives Andy by pressing blue. Jude takes the entire sum, but watches in horror as Andy loses a finger. The host calmly warns them that refusing to play results in elimination. The second round offers $500,000. Another quarrel erupts. Andy accuses Jude of being a fair-weather friend. Jude denies this, revealing he secretly paid for Andy's mother's medical treatment for months. Interrupted by the host, the men both choose red. The money is credited as their fingers are severed. While Andy endures the pain, Jude screams. The blonde host explains she is merely working for a paycheck and her audience. In the third round, stakes shift to their loved ones. Andy's father and Henry are brought in. 2 red buttons grant money but cost the relatives their eyes. 2 blue buttons create massive debt and lead to the relative's execution. If choices differ, the blue player wins wealth and saves their relative, while the red player owes $1 million and their relative dies. Jude begs Andy to sacrifice his father to save Henry. Unable to agree, both men try to save their own relatives by pressing blue. Instead, they worsen the outcome. Both relatives are executed, leaving the players with massive debt. Jude blames Andy for Henry's death, ignoring that his own gambling led them here. The host initiates a more terrifying round. Kate and Heather are the new stakes. If both press red, they gain $5 million, but the women lose their tongues. If both press blue, the women are executed. If choices differ, the winner takes the money and saves his partner, while the loser's partner dies and he faces massive debt. Kate confesses her love, promising to forgive the affair even if she loses her tongue. Heather reveals she is pregnant, but the host is unmoved. Jude promises Andy they will both press red to save their partners' lives. However, Jude lies again, pressing blue. He wins the money and saves Heather, while a devastated Andy watches Kate's execution. A camera hidden in an ancient statue records everything as the host announces the finale. Andy, having lost everyone, claims he no longer fears the outcome. The host reminds him that Jude is still his friend. In this final round, 2 red buttons grant money but cost each man an eye. Different buttons leave the winner intact while the loser is blinded and indebted. 2 blue buttons end the game and their lives. Andy refuses to negotiate, choosing the blue button to end the suffering. Yet at the last second, Andy lacks the courage to kill his friend. The red buttons light up, and the host rejoices at how Andy has cleverly outplayed everyone. The men receive their money, and hotel staff extract 1 eye from each player. Despite their agony, the host ignores them, reminding them the show is for the viewers. Before the final round, she asks them to discuss their love for money, but both refuse. Then a twist occurs. Heather, who had previously escaped the game, is brought back. Jude demands his pregnant girlfriend's release, but the host ignores the rules, declaring that Heather will now have her own button to press. Andy realizes he is at a disadvantage against the lovers, but listens as the final rules are explained. Andy and Jude are now a team, but only Andy can press a button. If Andy presses red and Heather shows a red card, everyone shares $20 million, but each loses an eye. If the colors don't match, the blue players take the money and live, while the red players are executed. If all choose blue, everyone is eliminated. Jude begs Heather to choose red, promising they will survive the injuries together. Andy laughs, telling Jude that Heather has been using him for money all along. Crying, Heather begs Andy to choose red for the sake of her unborn child. Moved by her pleas, Andy presses the red button. However, Heather instantly stops crying and reveals a blue card. Andy laughs at her clever deception, while a stunned Jude fails to understand what just happened. Finally, it dawns on Jude that the pregnancy was a lie. Heather deceived everyone to save herself. The host thanks the players for a brilliant performance, and the staff executes them before the live audience. The story then shifts back to the arena where it all began. The participants once again face a horrific choice, but this time under the guidance of a new host in a red dress, Heather. She asks the players not to let her down, as their suffering determines her paycheck. She orders the men back to the table to entertain their powerful patrons.